Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
Okay. Here we go. Greetings to you wherever you are around the world, and I thank you so much for watching my show. Today, my guest, it's actually his birthday, so I'd like to introduce the show by saying happy birthday, Dr. Treacy. And so today...
Oh, happy birthday. Thank you, Jennylyn. That's so lovely.
Yes, you know, birthdays are special, and we only have one every year, so we should celebrate it. That's what I believe. Anyway, so my guest today is a medical director, educator, plastic surgeon, author, and today that's why we're having this conversation. He has written a book, and I cannot wait to hear the contents of this book because so many women that I know have had needles on their faces, and I'm included. So I want to hear about this book. Patrick, welcome to Conversations, and let's get started. Tell us about the book.
Well, I suppose if I could, I wrote this book originally, and that was in 2012. Can you bring it up a little higher?
Can you raise it up?
This is not the book. This is an original one. Okay. Yeah.
Behind
so I wrote that after the Irish recession, and it was, I suppose, when business collapsed. It was something to do, and it was a memoir, but that was written in 2012, and since that time I won a lot of awards, such as top aesthetic doctor in the world, top aesthetic doctor in Britain, and won a lot of awards for research. So really my new book is an updated memoir from 2012 to 2020. Okay. And it explains some of the research, but a lot of the original, I suppose, work is in it as well. Growing up in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, switching universities from the war in Northern Ireland to Dublin, then the years in Dublin, where I originally, I suppose, became a doctor, and then I was working in Iraq before the first Gulf War, and I was a prisoner of Saddam Hussein.
You were? Stop. You were a prisoner of Saddam Hussein?
Yes.
Why?
Because I went up to Al-Habalya, where he had gassed the Kurds, and I was doing a story on it, and I was dressed in Kurdish gear as a Peshmerga, and I got arrested by the Saddam Hussein's army, and I was sort of put in jail, and yeah. So anyway, I got out before the first Gulf War, and then so it brings in a lot of things. It brings in, I was there the night the Berlin Wall came down. It brings in, I suppose, my time with Michael Jackson when I was Michael's doctor, and some of the nights we spent together in his house and that. It brings in also a lot of personal things, like I got stabbed with a HIV needle, but I never turned positive, and it was before the tests, or sorry, any cure was available. So I had to go to theater and get a big lump cut out of my leg, and then I sort of had to travel, you know, sort of for 3 years around the world getting checked. Before that was in the 80s, you know, and myself and my girlfriend ended up separating over it, and you know, it was, so it's a very personal book as well, you know.
Wow, you are so full of history. I mean, you have been around for some phenomenal events. I'm very impressed. Yeah. So how did you end up as a plastic surgeon? Were you a plastic surgeon when all of this was happening?
Well, I suppose I'm more a cosmetic surgeon, or a more almost aesthetic doctor. So I was really, I suppose, when my mom got pancreatic cancer, and I came back from Australia to Ireland, and it was in just the turn of the last century. So it was not, in that period, 98, 99, when number one, Botox was being used for the first time. And I was using it in a lot of unusual things, like for sweating, for tinnitus, for migraine. I was one of the first doctors to use it for migraine. I was lecturing in it back in 1979. And also dermal fillers started at that stage. And up the road from you in California, Patrick Bitter was doing some work on IPL.
Yeah.
So it had started. So a couple of us put, well, when I say a couple of us, I did in Ireland, some other people did in California, some people did in South Africa. I suppose we were the pioneers of aesthetic medicine, you know. So one of my other books coming out goes into those years as well, the evolution of aesthetic medicine. But I mean, this one is an updated one memoir. And as yet, it's going to be released on the 30th of April this month. And it'll probably be on Amazon and in Waterstones and some of the big United Kingdom companies. And also you can get it in those things.
Yeah, so this is going to be a fascinating book.
It's a bit of a page turner, all right. You know, it does take into account a lot of interesting, I suppose, things in my life. You know, I was a flying doctor in the outback in Australia. I was a ship surgeon off California. From Los Angeles.
Brilliant. I can't believe the things you've done.
Yeah, in San Pedro, all the way down the Mexican Riviera, Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, and also Puerto Vallarta, beautiful Puerto Vallarta. And then I also was a ship surgeon in Miami, and we used Port Canaveral. And I seen Columbia, SS Columbia, that blew up as a space shuttle, that going up before it had its problem, because we were on the boat just watching it all, you know. And then I suppose I worked in Caribbean in terms of the ship surgeon when the Cuban boat people were leaving to come up to Miami, and we hit some of those, unfortunately killed some of them as well with the cruise liners, you know, so interesting times, you know.
My God, you have lived. Hats off to you. I believe life is to be lived, and so many people, they stay in the safe place. And to me, when you have that attitude, you don't really grow. You don't really get to experience life. And I love your attitude.
One of the things, I was in New Zealand as and I was with the Royal New Zealand Naval Reserve Surgical Lieutenant Commander, and New Zealand went to war with their ships against Colonel Ramboka in 1987. They started ships up there. So I was only there a few days when I got roped into situations like that. I was in South Africa when things switched over as well. I was in the Soviet Union, believe it or not, when it switched from the Soviet Union over to Russia. So yeah, it's all there. Gibraltar.
Is it all in the book coming out now?
Yes, yes.
And what is the name of it again?
Okay, so the first book was the same as a Michael Jackson song. So that one was Behind the Mask, yeah?
Right. And did you give it that name because of your friendship with Michael and because parts of your...
And not only that, but the story behind the surgical mask, okay?
Ah, got it.
So then the second one, because won a lot of awards for how to reverse dermal fillers if they were injected into somebody's face. So the second one is from a Neil Young song, The Needle and the Damage Done.
Got it. So that's because I wanted to ask you, you said the needle and the damage done. So tell us, what are your feelings now on dermal fillers? I used to have a medical cosmetic clinic, and we offered a lot of Botox and lots of the fillers. And that was about 3 years ago. But I have friends that still use fillers, and every now and again I use them too. So I want to know your feelings on it from your expertise, or rather your
I think they're wonderful in the right hands, you know. You have to be careful and selective of your product and who's doing it. There's a lot of inferior products out there that cause problems, and a lot of my work has been reversing complications. So I think you just have to be careful about who's doing it and what they're injecting into your face. But otherwise, they're fine. I would do 10 every single day, you know. So I would certainly use the hyaluronic acids because they're reversible. You don't want to put anything to your face that's permanent, because it's also going to cause permanent problems if it goes wrong, you know?
Yes, I agree with that. So tell us about Michael Jackson. He clearly had a huge impact on you. You
Or
named
me on him, maybe?
or maybe you on him, right?
Yeah.
Or the reverse.
Yeah.
Yes, because clearly you named your book after, you know.
Sure. Well, I suppose I got to know Michael in a way that, you know, over a period of years, you know, in a way that maybe Arnie Klein did also, where he opened up his heart and his soul to you. So, I mean, when he lived with us in Ireland, he had his children here and I'd stay down the house. I must say, I always liked Michael. He was very intelligent, pretty much a perfectionist. And he'd turn around, he'd say things to me, Patrick, do you prefer my music or Prince's? And I'd say, Prince's. He get very annoyed, you know, what, you know? And because I said, look at Michael, I'm more a Pink Floyd U2 person, you know? But some of Michael's blue operas, his arias, you know, like Earth Song and I suppose Sidi Garrett's song, Man in the Mirror, they were wonderful songs, you know? And but I never, I suppose, treated Michael any different than any other patient, you know. In terms of American celebrities, I certainly have 2 or 3 that probably were at Michael's status that I was treating, you know, and unfortunately or fortunately, you know, the Satin, some of them came with special hours, some of them didn't, and I had some interesting times with Michael, you know. He came to me originally, I suppose he had too much filler in his face and we had to remove some. And by the time I removed some, because he was going to see the Queen for the opening of Casino Royale, but then he chickened out and didn't see her at all, you know?
I would
And
never think someone like him was shy. I've heard from
I know
people that he was shy.
he was a bit shy, yeah.
But how does someone who's shy perform in front of so many people and all the gyrations and, you know?
It's a very, very good point, yes. And that's something that I certainly never asked him, or you'll see, I did an interview with Aphrodite Jones. He never used any drugs to overcome that level of shyness. But yeah, he was, in my mind anyway, a little shy. He certainly bottled out that night and he didn't see the Queen, you know. But he's a funny guy, Michael. You know, the first time I met him, he turned around and he was sitting in my room and he had a big dermatology book, about 300 or 400 pages long. And he said to me, because he was at a thing on vitiligo with an African child, and he said to me, do you know, nobody knows the pain that that child is going under. And I turned around and I wasn't sure what he meant, actually. And then he showed me his legs and his body was black and white, you know. So that was the first time I knew he had vitiligo. And then on another occasion, he took off his wig to show me the scars he had on his head from them trying to fix his scalp with the Pepsi Cola when he got burnt. And he gave that money to the Bronx Center in California for burns victims because he wondered whether a hair transplant would work, you know. And So Michael had his demons that way, I suppose, in terms of, I think he should have maybe told the world earlier that he had vitiligo, and he had
Well, he did say it. I heard it in an interview, but some people, the media.
oh, totally, they were terrible.
Oh,
They were
some
terrible.
people use the media as their source of information, and they will judge people
No, and
based on
particularly the British media were terrible, because when he went into the LeBron Center in California, he actually had donated them a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, and the photographers made him get into it, and he thought he was doing it for a joke, and then they said that he was using this to try and make himself younger,
I hope you're not too far behind in Ireland.
We're coming out of lockdown very soon.
I wanted to ask you, the book that's coming out, could you just kind of give us a brief overview on what people will find in it? Because once the curiosity is perked, then they'll have more desire to go get it.
Okay. This book, the background music isn't too loud, no?
No, it's not. I can't hear it.
Oh, okay. So this book is really an update to my memoir. The stories we mentioned earlier in the interview, it goes into all of those. And then it goes into some of my humanitarian work in Malawi, Liberia, Haiti, different places in Africa. And then it also goes into the awards I got recently and how
Tell us about your awards.
Well, I got, I suppose, awarded top aesthetic doctor in the world in Las Vegas last year, just before COVID started. And then I also got, I suppose, awarded top doctor in Britain and Ireland for the last few years. Thank you. And then I got awards from the British College of Aesthetic Medicine and the Royal Society of Medicine and the Irish College for Medical Research. And then Azerbaijan gave me a laureate in aesthetic medicine. And then Mexico gave me a medal. And yes, so,
That must be great. You are definitely a phenomenal person, because based on what you've shared with me, what I hear you say is you've pretty much gone around the world and helped people. You've always worked with a surgeon.
It's all right, yeah.
I think that's wonderful. I really feel that, we need more people like you in the world. So many people are, oh, everything is fine with me, so let me go make money, and it's all about making money.
I know.
And I'm sure you got paid for your work, and I'm not saying we should work for nothing, but clearly some of the countries you have mentioned in this conversation, I know that it was humanitarian.
Well, listen, it's reciprocal, because when you give back to people, you also benefit yourself,
I agree with that. Before we wrap this up, what do you want to leave with the viewers? Why should they buy your book?
That's a very good question. From a human interest point of view, I think it's a bit of a page turner. We've already been asked, some people are thinking that it could be screenwritten. From a financial point of view, I could do with the money. I'm giving it all away to Africa. I know, after the recession. Why? I suppose it's a bit like an artist writing a song. It's wonderful then if people buy it and appreciate it, It makes it worthwhile. So during COVID, I wrote many books. So it kept me sane and balanced. And because I'm single and I'm not married, if you're sitting at home doing nothing, especially with somebody like me, it's difficult,
No, I hear you, because I'm in the same boat and I keep myself busy doing this. You have to find something to keep yourself gainfully occupied. Otherwise, you can easily become depressed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I walked a lot and I did a lot of shows, and I'm happy. So what would be the cost of the book?
It's actually pricey enough. It's about, I'd say it's about $30, you know.
And can you get it in electronic form as well as paperback?
Yeah, you can get it in electronic form as well. So if you put in Patrick Treacy, Needle and the Damage Done, you can pre-order. You'll get it on many websites, and it's with a group who are also based in New York, but as yet we're doing the UK launch, UK and Ireland. And then our new skin brand is going to be launched in New York on St. Patrick's Day. And so we'll do an American launch as well. Yeah.
This is awesome. Patrick, I always enjoy my time I spend with you. I always do. Please continue to enjoy your birthday. Have a pint for me.
Okay, pint of Guinness.
And I will go and edit this and send it to you. And I'm going to make sure I get a copy of your book. I should get a signed copy.
Yeah, I'll get a signed copy if you give me your address, or I can send one by pre-order without being signed. Also, if you want, you know. Okay.
Thank you so much. And thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. As you see, I always bring you fascinating people. And this is one fascinating man sitting across from me. And
I'm out of here. Bye.
Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.